And black men have been emasculated in the Democratic Party. That's real. They don't see themselves, because to lift up black women is beautiful. We should, but not at the expense of black men. We have achieved what we have achieved so far in this country because we are together. And we can't pick up other people's bad habits. Now, white women may be able to lead a white man by the side of the road. Sisters can't do that.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Political Brown Kid, and I'm glad I found this clip. I actually saw this female, and I don't know her name, so I do apologize for that. I don't have her information. Don't know her name, but I hope if anyone knows it, please drop a comment in the comment section. Also, hit the like and subscribe button as well. It helps the channel, helps me grow, helps me get the word out. She was actually on another program having a conversation too on this very same topic, so it seems as though this is something that she's passionate about, and I'm glad that she is. Once again, I'm going to start this off by saying this, is that I think that the unfortunate part about this is that there are black people out here who don't seem to understand the point that she is trying to make. And unfortunately, I see it's really a lot of liberal. I see a lot of, I guess, men that are heavily deep-rooted in the feminist movement. They have been dismissing her and denouncing this video and stating that she's wrong on social media platforms, and black women have been doing it. And the unfortunate part about it is I'm just trying to figure out what don't they understand. My whole entire channel, for the most part, is dedicated to kind of bringing up this very issue. Now, I may not talk about this directly, but what I show on my channel is how this society, this white society, is basically wiping out the black race and pitting black people against one another. And black people do a good job of not sticking together, period, because of wanting to always be loved and accepted by white people. What this lady is saying actually is 100% correct. What they've done is, and they've done this for a long time, everyone knows it. Most people know, let me just say most people know that when you're in the dating game and you're courting and mating and things of that nature, and you're looking for someone as a partner, most people know that women have a particular expectation. They say it all of the time, and it is definitely true. And I hate to kind of regurgitate other people's talking points, but it's really not their talking points. It's just a fact, but I just hate the lingo. Women date up and men date wherever. Like we'll date down, we'll date up, we'll do all kind of stuff. Women date down too, but they don't prefer it. When you listen to a woman, she's very frustrated that she has to date a man that's lesser than her. Or she's complaining that the men that she's dating can't handle her success. And a lot of times I can tell you the reason why that is. And a lot of times, number one, it's really that a woman just wants a man that's doing on her level or above. Most women will tell you that, and that's where that whole term hypergamy comes in. Women will say, I want a man that's taller than me. I want a man that's making the same amount of money as me or more. I want a man, if she's in shape, he has to be in shape or in better shape. It just goes on and on and on. If she's a boss and aggressive and, she has a very dominant personality, she wants somebody that can tame her. She doesn't want a weak man. So that's why a lot of men, when we date and we hear certain things, that's why it's not that we're intimidated by some women. It's just that we know how it's going to play out. We know that, okay, if this woman is very ambitious and we're just fine, with the life that we have, let's just say the Yellowstone life. We're just happy being a cowboy and what we have, and we live a simplistic life. We know that this match is not going to work out. So that's why we just strategically kind of think things through to the long game. But getting back on the topic of how they have weaponized and destroyed the black community, what this woman is talking about. And mind you, I don't really know, but I'm just kind of giving when I say I don't know, I'm not trying to put words into her mouth. I'm going to interpret it as my thoughts on what I feel about this subject. Getting back to the hypergamy thing, when you look at the dating game, and when you look at my channel and you look at all of my Hollywoods and black and whites that I've done, which a lot of people don't really seem to be interested in, but they're important. The media, and I told people before, the way you control when you have total control, you control the government, you control the military, and you control the media. And white people in America control all three. And really, they control that throughout most of the world. In countries that they don't have that control, they label them their enemy. That's why North Korea is an enemy, Russia's an enemy, China is an enemy. It's kind of like a friendly, type of enemy type of situation. And in the other countries, they just pretty much dominate, and they inject their cultural influences in the Middle East, Africa, so forth. When you start watching and showing things in the media where you start hiring nothing but black women, and before I even get to this point, let me just kind of back this up just a little bit. When you watch the women in the WNBA complaining why we want to get paid more, we need to get paid, and then you saw people from CNN and all of these other networks, and I want to even say like sports channels like ESPN analysts were picking this up, talking about pay the women more, and they're not even looking at it from the perspective of the WNBA only has like 12 teams. I think they may have 12 teams. They only play 30 something games. And the season's over like that, and they really just don't have the star power revenue. Now they're getting it with, the female that came into the league who's kind of bringing a little spotlight to the league, and people aren't mad at that because she's white, and or because she's overshadowing Angel Reese and other people that should be stars on her level. But then you compare that with the NBA, they play 82 games. They have 30 teams. The league's been around for dang near 100 years. And it took a long time for the NBA contracts to get to where they are. So the WNBA is going to have to wait their turn and grow. But people fail to remember, or people overlook the fact that the men in the NBA support the women of the WNBA. The NBA supplements financially the WNBA league. Without the supplementing income from the NBA, the WNBA would have folded a long time ago. You see a lot of the star athletes like Steph Curry, LeBron James, and so forth going to WNBA games, promoting the WNBA league. And they do this stuff, and they just welcome the WNBA players to play and participate in the NBA All-Star activities. But where do you see that where women are advocating for men to get equal pay in industries that they dominate? You don't see women advocating for men in, let's just say, OnlyFans or in like the modeling industry to get equal pay. You don't see that. And the women in the tennis leagues, they want to get paid as much as the men, but you play 3 sets. The men play 5 sets. Just watch the match right now in the U.S. Open where I forgot who played. They just played a 5-hour game. Or 5-hour match, should I say match, because I don't want to get confused because a game is just one game. But they played a 5-hour match because they play 5 sets. The women's games are normally over in about like 50 minutes, maybe an hour. They can go an hour and a half, but the men play longer sets. And I'm not trying to say that the women should or should not, but I'm just trying to say is that, well, where's the equality if they both get paid the same, but the men have to play longer sets? But getting back to black men and black women specifically, the reason why I brought up the NBA and WNBA, because those are black men advocating for predominant or a lot of black women. They're advocating for all of the women in that league, but a lot of those women are black. And you see black men in the NBA supporting black women in the WNBA, right? But then where do you see the actresses? Where do you see the female actresses? I keep pointing this out. Like I told y'all, I pointed it out in my Hollywoods in black and white. When you listen to my Hollywoods in black and white, and when you watch television, the recurring theme that you're going to see is a black woman, usually a sexy, attractive black woman. When I say sexy, that means she's virile. She looks fertile. She's just a beautiful woman. She's paired up with a white man. And typically that woman is going to be a light-skinned woman. Or like I said, if they put a brown-skinned woman in there, she is gorgeous. But they only deal with black women that are pretty. And also, too, like I told y'all, they typically pass the brown paper bag and comb test. Those are the women getting all of the major acting movies. Those are the women that are getting in the A-list movies. I'm not talking about Tyler Perry movies. I'm not talking about these black B-list movies that aren't mega blockbuster hits. I'm specifically talking about big blockbuster movies or shows. When you watch, like I said, if you turn on Netflix, you can turn on any Netflix and you're going to see black women paired up with white men. If they're not paired up with a white man, they're a single mother, or if it's a black man in the show, it's a single father. But when have you ever seen Halle Berry or Nia Long or and the reason why I bring up Nia Long is because Nia Long, and unfortunately I can't find the clip online, I look for it. Nia Long actively advocated for having her character in The Best Man when it was the sequel, The Best Man Holiday. She actively told the cast that or told the producers why can't her character be in an interracial relationship. She advocated for a white man. But when do you see these black women say, why is it that every time I'm in a movie, Carmody Jogo, Halle Berry, Tandy Newton. Then you're seeing they snatching up Dominique Fishback because she was just in. I just saw that Rise of the Beast. She wasn't just in it, but I just watched it. The Transformers Rise of the Beast. And when she did Swarm, all she was doing was banging white men. When you watch these movies, how come these black women don't advocate for them having a black male cast? And I played a black male played as her love interest. I did a Hollywood in black and white that showed where Florida Evans, where Good Times was supposed to be a show about a single black mother in the ghetto of Chicago. And she advocated for her to be in a relationship and have a nuclear family. And that's how John Amos got the role of James Evans Sr. But we don't have that today. Black women have basically said racism is over, white men love us, white society loves us, we're pushing forward. And then when black men complain that there is a ceiling for us, the black women are just as dismissive as white men would be and white people would be towards black men. Oh, it's not a ceiling. It's just that you failed to do this. It's always they're going to point out some deficiency. They're either going to say, well, maybe you're just difficult to work with, or maybe you need to work harder, or maybe you need to do this. Maybe your agent failed you. They're always going to bring up something to make it seem like it's your fault and not the fault of society putting in a ceiling on your potential. I was just in the dating game. I told this story on one of my other dating episodes. If you go back and check my channel, I was dating a female that was actually doing better than me as far as career-wise. And me and her just had this conversation, and it wasn't a heated conversation, but, I brought it up and I said, well, look, you just have a bachelor's degree, and her bachelor's degree was in something like, I don't know, it was just like in English or history, but yet she got promoted to a director's position in her career. And here it is with me. I have several master's degrees. I have several master's degrees, and I've done all of these works and have all of these accomplishments, but yet I can't get promoted. Now, mind you, we don't work in the same organization, but I'm just bringing this up to her. And she did this, and even my sister kind of did it a little bit. One of my sisters, because I have two sisters, one of my sisters kind of did the same thing because she was promoted up too. She's a director as well. And they both kind of was just saying, well, you just need to work hard. You just need to do this. You need to do that. It's not about this. Sometimes it ain't about education, which your problem probably is. They always want to push it to something that you're failing to do. When the bottom line is that white men and even white women, when you start looking at a certain hiring level, when you reach a certain level in your career, it then becomes about likability. And this is the same problem that women were complaining about when they were saying men go to the strip clubs and are able to close more deals. It's the old boys club network. That's why we can't get ahead. It was okay for them to cry and complain and basically saying that there's some fraternization going on. But now they don't see the fraternization of the sisterhood where women are like, I got you, girl, girlfriend, I got you, girl. And women, whether they're white or black, regardless of color, they're promoting other women because they're sticking to the sisterhood. And then white men who are still in power, and they're not going to relinquish their power. And we'll talk about that, and I'm going to bring that up, why white men are not going to be affected by this feminist movement. I'll bring that up in a second. But white men are willing to hire black women because men, and Cat Williams said it if you watch the Shannon Sharp, if you watch him on Club Shay Shay, what did Cat Williams say? I hire only women because I like to be around women energy. I don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of dudes. That's what Cat Williams said. If you don't believe me, go watch the Club Shay Shay interview with Cat Williams. Everybody saw it. It has, 70 million views at this point in time? He specifically said he hires women because he wants to be around women energy and he likes being in the company of women. And that's what most men will tell you. They will rather give a woman, if not unless they know the dude. That's the only thing qualifier. If they're buddies with a dude, then they'll mentor and promote that guy up. But if it's two candidates that they don't know, a guy, especially if the woman is attractive, they would rather say, I want to be around her. Because number one, I'm a guy, so obviously I'm the alpha in the room. The women are going to, quote unquote, submit or concede to me and let me run and do my thing and let me be the boss. If I hire another dude, he's going to challenge me. I need to be the only lion amongst lionesses. That's the way guys think about it. So they rather promote a woman up, and then what better to do than promote a black woman, because now she checks off two boxes. She checks off the black American box, and then she also checks off the female box. So, and then she's going to cooperate with you more, and you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable bossing her around. And when I say bossing her around, I don't mean he's going to be barking orders, but you feel more comfortable giving her directives and basically kind of talking and interacting with her. And if something slips up, you feel more comfortable reprimanding her as opposed to reprimanding another dude that may challenge you. Guys don't want that testosterone in the room. And black women are failing to see things this way. They don't even want to acknowledge that we help them out. Like, all you see on the internet is black women complaining that black men are useless, we're worthless, we're dusty, and they basically say all of these negative comments because they know that white men are giving them things. And they don't even give black men the time of day to even provide them or even try to give them things. So this is why when this woman speaks about them weaponizing black women, that's what they've done. They've promoted black women up, and they really held back black men. And I'm not talking about black men that have been in the penal system. I'm not talking about black men that are struggling. I'm talking about honest, hardworking, everyday black men. We don't get the shots. And the reason why I say that white men, I'm circling back to the point that I was going to talk about earlier, white men don't have to worry about being a victim to, or a casualty, should I say. They don't have to worry about being a casualty to feminism because white men own the establishments. So what do I mean by that? You guys are going to say, well, what do you mean? The reason why the white household cannot really be torn up is because when you look at these big law firms, when you look at these, with the big three now, the big three accounting firms, when you look at all of the Fortune 500 companies, those companies were founded and are run by mostly men. And their board of directors, or their board, it probably has, they have women on the board, but they have men on the board representing too, and those men have qualifications. You look at Warren Buffett's company, he founded it. When you look at Meta, it was founded by a man, Mark Zuckerberg. Jeff Bezos founded Amazon. Sergey Brin and the other guy founded Google. So these individuals have their companies, and they're going to be, regardless, they're going to ensure that people that look like them and represent them are there and deep-seated in those companies. When you just continually give black people jobs, and this is why I've been so hard on people like Barack and Kamala and them, is because they don't talk about giving empowerment. The only thing they want to do is say, give you an education so you can get a job. But when you get a job, that's kind of like somebody giving you a fish to eat. What do they say? Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach a man how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. They don't want us to have big Fortune 500 companies or big companies, period. They just want us to continually be working and subservient to them. I'm telling you people this. You look at Oprah, I've just showed y'all the numbers on Oprah Winfrey's company. She hires nothing but white women and white men as her executives. I pointed out Tyler Perry's company. His company is a little bit more mixed. It's about 50-50. And then you still have women in power in those positions. And now when you looked at Sean Combs, aka Puffy, Diddy, whatever you want to call him, his company is 80% black executives, 80% black staff. Unfortunately, he's lost his company, but he sold his shares to his employees. So now I think it's employee owned. I'm talking about Revolt TV. So I'm saying all that to say this is when you start making the black woman and start giving her opportunities, and even this is another opportunity that black women get that black men don't get, because black men are now considered a part of the quote unquote patriarchy, which is toxic masculinity, because we're a man. When I'm still trying to figure out who have we ever been toxic to in a position to be toxic. When you start looking at that, there's no laws or there's no policies and programs directed towards black men to be entrepreneurs. There are none. But like I told y'all, the only program Barack Obama started for black people was he started it for blacks and Latinos. You can go Google My Brother's Keeper Barack Obama, and all you're going to see is a picture of him with a bunch of black men, and I think there's some Latinos. They're walking, then they show a picture of them sitting around, I guess, in a little group. He used it as a photo op, and it's basically they only create programs that are geared towards the degenerates of black society. They look at three strikes you're out programs, incarceration programs. It's always a program dedicated towards some poor, ignorant, or just degenerate black joker that's a predicate felon for the most part. And those are the people that they want to help out. But they don't look to say, well, black men that want to start businesses, we're going to provide, we're going to do set aside grants and funds to help black men get businesses. But they have one for black women. They have a program for black women. So once again, once you start making the black woman financially superior to the black man, professionally superior to the black man, then what she does is she looks down and says, he's nothing. But what she's not realizing is that she's had a lot of help from the system to get to where she is. Now, I'm not putting black women down. Well, all I'm just trying to give you is a understanding of how black women are elevating. And I'm not even saying that they have surpassed black men at this point, because you can look at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics information. You can go to bls.gov. You can go out to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics website, and you can see that black men still overall make more money than black women. But when you watch the narratives online, like I just saw, what is it? Nick Cannon had some female on his show. I think she's a doctor, and she was basically spouting off that black women are better than black men. And then they always try to clean it up by saying, I'm not trying to make this a competition, but you did. You just basically said that black men are inferior. You basically said black women make more money, black women are smarter, black women we own more homes than black men. She started spouting off all of these facts, positive facts. She didn't spout off anything negative, like, look, black women are more in debt, black women have fewer net worth. She didn't bring up any of that, but she basically pointed out all the adjectives. And then I think she also even told Nick Cannon, I can't even show up to an event with a man because my qualifications are better than his, and he feels inferior when he dates me. Well, who are you dating? So these are the questions too, and there was a different woman that was on Cam Newton's show as well, and kind of speaking a similar rhetoric. So that's what this woman means when she's saying that the Democratic Party has weaponized black women and that they have emasculated black men. Because once again, when you listen to the rhetoric in this country, and it's mostly coming from the liberal side, and I'm not trying to beat up or make this a political thing, but it's a fact. When you look at the rhetoric and when you hear people talk about feminism, those are mostly coming from liberals and the Democrats. It's always about, how women are so much better. And then when you hear the Democratic Party, it's always the black woman, thanks to black women, the Democrats are doing this, thanks to black women. They almost got Stacey Abrams elected, but the failure of the black man. Then you got black women coming in where the black man failed because the black man didn't do this. And then there's all of this drama. Instead of them trying to work with us, it's now become a finger pointing contest. And I'm going to end this with this, because this, once again, like I said, we are at critical, we're almost in a death spiral as a black community, because you see all of these different splinters and all of this different, these fragmented groups that are opposed to one another. Black men are opposed to black women are opposed to black men. Foundational Black America. I just learned about this term. I was like, why do people keep saying FBA? I didn't know what it was, honestly. And I got cussed out online. All I did was ask a question because people kept going back and forth. And so maybe that was my fault for jumping into the conversation, but I was just kind of like, excuse me, what is the FBA? What does that stand for? And somebody cussed me out. And so I found that to be kind of funny, because it was like, I just asked a question, but I guess this person is hot at me. So, but you have foundational Black Americans against non-foundational Black Americans. You have quote unquote mixed Blacks against regular Blacks. It is a real mess within this country. And then you have Black divestors against passport bros. And it is a real mess within the Black community. And at some point you have to galvanize and come together and say that we're not going to let these other groups tear us apart, because I keep telling y'all, white people don't care that they're tearing y'all apart. What they're trying to do is lighten up the Black race. And I don't know why Black people are very ignorant that they can't see what's going on. When you watch television, that's what you see. You see a white man with a Black woman, and then they hire a light-skinned or mixed mulatto to play the child. So when is it that you're going to have another Keisha Knight Pulliam or Pullman? I forget how to say her last name. I'm hoping I'm saying her name right. I forgot. I'm apologizing if I'm messing it up. But when are you going to see another brown-skinned girl get a acting gig? She can't, because I keep telling y'all about operating qualifications. You have to have, for your bona fide operating qualification is they can discriminate against the individual so long as it's applicable. For example, if I'm creating a movie about Indigenous Americans or Native Americans, I can, if Idris Elba came and tried to play Sitting Bull, I could deny him that role because he doesn't meet the bona fide operating qualification. He's not an Indigenous American. So I can literally say I'm hiring this, Black horse, if they have a Native American background, I can literally say I'm giving him the role. Yes, he's not a better actor than you, Idris, but he's a Native American. I can discriminate against people based on certain things. If you watch the movie Ocean's 13, if you're familiar with that, in the beginning of the movie, they were basically saying how Al Pacino's character had hired a whole bunch of skinny, pretty models to be waitresses. And so I think Matt Damon's character says that he can't do that. That's discrimination. And then somebody corrected him and said, well, he's hiring them as models. And he said, and they're models that also their job duty is to serve. So therefore, that's how he was able to only hire skinny, tall, beautiful women because they have to meet the modeling criteria. So once again, going back to when you're looking at black people and how they're going to wipe y'all out, is if you keep doing movies where it's a black woman paired with a white man, or even a white black man paired with a white woman, you have to make the child light skinned. Well, I shouldn't say you have to, but for the most part, that's what they're doing because they're like, okay, well, the baby has to come out mixed. So that's why you see all of these mixed kids getting so many acting gigs. And I don't know why people can't understand that. And that's how they're getting all of these acts. You very rarely see a young brown skinned girl on television because they're hiring all of these other people. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But this is how they tear apart your community. White people don't have a vested interest. Their vested interest is to quote unquote end racism. We all know that white people are the most ignorant people on planet Earth. And what I mean by that, and I'm not trying to be negative towards you white people, but it's just ignorance is a real word. It's applicable. It's not a derogatory word, but it's the truth. White people don't know your struggle. They're trying to solve, they think that they're doing a great thing by just showing black people and white people having sex and orgies on television and mixing and breeding and interbreeding and having interracial loves and relationships. They think that's solving the racial issue. But I keep telling y'all black people, racism has not been our problem. Our problem is inferiority. We either perceive ourselves to be inferior to whites, i.e. black women wearing wigs because and wanting to have Farrah Fawcett type hair because they feel as though their natural hair isn't pretty enough or good enough. You see people bleaching their skin because they want to be lighter, Little Kim, I think Nicki Minaj. You see all of these black girls trying to look white. You see Michael Jackson trying to look white and lying, talking about he has vitiligo when knowing LaToya Jackson had outed him years ago on the Phil Donahue show. But these are the things that we do. We have perceived ourselves to be inferior, or we are actually inferior. And what I mean by actual inferiority is we don't have any military might that can go up against the United States. If we did, the United States wouldn't have been messing with us. We wouldn't be captive over here in America for the past 500 years. We don't control the government, and you don't control any media outlet. The few media outlets that you do have, which is Oprah Winfrey's own network, you have Tyler Perry Studios, those individuals that could possibly help us, they choose not to because they're so much worried about consumerism. Because once again, if they start making movies and start telling the truth and start bucking against the system, then they're afraid that they're either going to get canceled or that their financial status is going to go down and that the empire that they built is going to go bankrupt. So that's why they're too much scared chumps, because my thing is this. Why aren't these black companies hiring black people? Why is Oprah Winfrey Network, why are all of her executives white? Why did Russell Simmons turn Def Jam over to Lear Cohen, a white guy, when he could have hired many black executives to run that company? He could have hired Steve Stout. He could have hired 1,000 black people to run that company. Why do we allow white people into hip hop spaces? It's happening to this day. When you look at black people, even with Nas partners with white individuals. When was the last time he just picked a black person and went up to a school and said, hey, look, you're black. I know you probably already know the hip hop culture. You're educated. Come work with me and help me do brand promotion. Help me do, let me use your marketing or promotion firm. You don't see these black people doing this. They go and they hire white people. So black people, once again, do it to themselves. It's the ignorance of our people. And that's why I typically say we deserve to be not only enslaved, but subjugated for the time that we are. And until we learn to figure out what we're doing wrong and stop doing it and start advocating for our own people, you're going to be in this perpetual state of where we're still here, and it's going to be the year 3000, and black people are still going to be online trying to talk about how do we solve and how do we overcome. You're going to be doing that. But obviously what you've been doing is not working. And they're further, and as this woman said, they have weaponized now black women to turn on black men. And what you're seeing now is a bunch of discord online. We can't even date each other without crying and complaining. Black women don't even want to date you. The only black women, and this is a fact, the only black women you see black men with are big, chunky black women. I was just out last night. It was a skinny brother. He was about 5. He was about 5'5". He was about 5'5", looked like he was maybe 150. He was with a girl. She was about 5'3". She looked like she was every bit 185. Had on tight fitting dresses and everything, you know. And she thinks just because she has a big booty, she looks fantastic, but you're big. And I'm not trying to put a person down, but I'm just pointing out the fact that when you see a black woman that is skinny and attractive, and she's amicable, meaning that, you know, she's cooperating and she's not trying to be, all loud and boisterous and fighting you every 24 seconds. You say, let's go left, and then she says, let's go right just to be contrarian. Those women, the women that are cooperating, they're pursuing white guys, Asian guys, Latino guys. I see it. And like I said before, I've never seen black women that had braids in their hair with bamboo earrings, looking like they're straight out of 80s hip hop and black culture, dating white men. But those are the girls. Like typically you would see a girl that looked like Candace Owens, or one of them girls that, just want to be one of them black girls that think she's a white girl and she dressed like she's a golf girl. Those would be the girls that you would say, yeah, she's with a white guy. But no, it's the sister girls too now. And it's disturbing. And I'll leave you with this final thought when I'm just talking about, when you talk about support, and when we're talking about just the destruction of black male-female relationships and how they weaponize black women. You look at the comments that LeBron James's wife just made, Savannah James. It's like these women, she's with LeBron. LeBron has, built himself and his career up. And basically, she's been given the opportunities that she has now because of LeBron. And what does she say? I'm not your wife, I'm your partner. So what kind of terminology is that? It's like she doesn't even want to be a wife. She's just kind of like, now I'm starting to feel myself because I'm starting to do podcasts and people are starting to want to talk to me because I'm married to somebody who's a legend and who's going to be a Hall of Famer. And also I had some baby boys, and those baby boys are now going to be in the pro, and that kid came out of me. So therefore I have the right to now act like I know what I'm talking about as far as being a life coach. So now she wants to say, I'm no longer your wife, I'm your partner. And this is how it starts. And I guarantee you, if LeBron stops working tomorrow and she just starts her little podcast gigs and she's making money from podcasting, she's going to look at it and say, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. Why am I still with you? I'm better than you. It's a very unfortunate thing. Even with Shaquille O'Neal's ex, here you are, you basically were given, the only reason why you have the media, the only reason why she got into the media game and was able to pitch Real Basketball Wives, or whatever they call these shows, Basketball Wives, or whatever the name of the show is, the only reason why she was allowed to pitch those shows was because she's Shaq's wife. That's it. If she was married to me, do you think anybody would be giving her a show? No. If you're just married to me or some regular other dude, you would not have a show. You'd be working, doing accounting work or doing something. Working at Kenny Shoes, I have no idea. But you wouldn't have the level of success that you are at now. And then you have the nerve and the gall to get on just because now you're married to another man to say, I never loved this dude. Who does that? That's the father of your children. But these are the statements that people make. And this is one of the issues and one of the concerns I have when you see females. They just start, once you see the white man give them something or they start making it, then all of a sudden they don't know you, or now they're better than you and they look down on you. So I'm saying all that to say we need to just work together. And women, I'm just kind of saying this and hoping that you'll hear me and hoping that you'll say, I'll have a better understanding once I start having, before I start speaking and start, wanting to tear down black men and tear down my black household and tear down, my black counterpart. I'll have a different understanding and a viewpoint, and I'll know that, this is what the system is intended to do. They want to break us up. They want to lighten us. It's called the lightening. It's called blanqueamiento. I told you all about that. Henry Louis Gates did a whole special on it where they sent a whole bunch of white people to Brazil to breed. Once slavery ended in Brazil way back in the day, what they did was they sent a whole bunch of white people from, I think, Spain and Portugal and from, I don't know where. They sent them from someplace, and they told the men, don't bring your wives, come down here to do work. They were doing contract work back in the day, construction or carpentry work, whatever it is they were doing to build the infrastructure. But the intention was they knew when men are in a location for so long, you're going to want to have that release. Every human has that human nature, and they knew that they would breed them out, and that's what they did. They bred them out, and that's why you see Brazil looking the way that it looks. You see Africa is kind of going through a similar thing. They've brought in a bunch of Asian men, Chinese men particularly, because China has a relationship with African countries. And those men are over there being the boss of other black men. And since they're at the top of the food chain, the women see them as being providers, and the African women are sleeping with these Asian men and creating babies. That's what they're doing. And so pretty soon the black man is really going to be extinct, and the black race will be extinct. So I just want you guys to pay attention to that. So I'm going to end it here. This is the Political Brown Kid. I'm out of here.